So today is science. Yay. Okay, so we are beginning our next chapter. So I'm going to show you the book, our science book. So this chapter is focusing on how Earth's water moves through the water cycle. And you are going to be able to describe how Earth's water is distributed. Some things to think about as we're working through this section include: how does Earth's water move through the water cycle? How are fresh water and salt water found on Earth? And we have 3 vocabulary words today that include water cycle, precipitation, and groundwater. So on your PDF file, you have your sheet that tells you about water cycle. So we do these in class. So you have the information that I'm reading to you, and there's going to be a couple videos for you to watch. I know you have absolutely loved those. And there's some charts, some information, so we'll go over those in a second. So there's a little science experiment here. I'll take a couple pictures of these pages, and if you want to do the science experiment, you can do it at your house. I'm not going to do the science experiment right now, but I'm just going to read to you. In a galaxy called the Milky Way, 9 planets orbit a star known simply as the Sun. Some of the planets have spectacular rings. Others have volcanoes that are larger than continents, or storms that last for centuries. But only one of the planets, Earth, has a surface covered mainly by water. In fact, oceans cover about 70% of our planet's surface. That's why Earth is often called the water planet. So what is Earth often called? The water planet. Earth differs from the other planets in another important way. It is the only place known where you, your classmates, your pets, your plants, and every other living thing can survive. Life on Earth could not exist without water. So the human body is actually made up mostly of water. So whenever I'm telling you, hey, drink, make sure you're drinking your water. Without water, you'll die. I know. We all like our stuff that's not water, but water is really important. So we're going to talk about the water cycle. Earth's water is naturally recycled through the water cycle. The water cycle is the continuous process by which water moves from Earth's surface to the atmosphere and back. In the water cycle, water moves from bodies of water, land, and living things on Earth's surface to the atmosphere and back to Earth's surface. That's a lot of information. So water is moving from one body of water to another. So water, these are bodies of water, okay? So water is moving from one place to another and coming back to Earth's surface. So think of when it rains. The water originally starts on the ground. It gets evaporated up into the sky, and then the clouds make precipitation, which is the rain. It rains and it brings it down. That's the water cycle. The water cycle has 3 major steps: evaporation, condensation, and precipitation. The cycle itself has no beginning or end, but it is driven by an energy source. What is our number 1 energy source? Do you remember? The sun. So water evaporates. In the process of evaporation, liquid water changes to a gas called water vapor. Water is constantly evaporating from the surfaces of lakes and oceans, and even from the soil. Plants play a role too. In this step of the water cycle, plants draw in water from the soil through their roots and release it through their leaves as water vapor. Condensation forms clouds. What happens after water evaporates? Warm air carries the water vapor upward. At higher altitudes, think of like the mountains, that's a higher altitude. Air tends to become much colder. Cold air cannot hold as much water vapor as warm air can. As a result, some of the water vapor cools and condenses into liquid water. Condensed droplets of water clump together around tiny dust particles in the air, forming clouds. So now we're going to talk about precipitation. As more water vapor condenses, the drops of water in the crowd go larger. Eventually, the heavy drops fall back to Earth as precipitation. What's precipitation? Anything wet falling from the sky, pretty much. So, can you give me some examples? We talked about it. So, you've got rain, snow, sleet, and hail. There's that stuff called guapple. I don't know how to spell it. We'll have to look it up. That is also included in precipitation. Most precipitation falls back into the ocean or lakes. The precipitation that falls on land may soak into the soil and become groundwater, or the precipitation may run off the land, eventually flowing into the ocean. So water is continuously moving through a cycle from Earth's surface to the atmosphere, and the sun's energy is what is driving this process. Sorry, my pages are stuck together. Oops. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the distribution of Earth's water. Most of Earth's water, which is 97%, is salt water found in oceans. Only 3% is fresh water. So humans can't drink salt water. We have to drink fresh water. Of that 3%, about 3/4 is frozen in huge masses of ice near the North and South Poles. Almost 1/4 of the fresh water is underground. A tiny fraction of Earth's fresh water occurs in lakes and rivers. An even tinier fraction is in the atmosphere, most of it in the form of water vapor. So we're talking about the oceans. A vast salty ocean covers an area greater than all the land on Earth combined. Pacific, Atlantic, Indian, and Arctic are the names used for the different parts of the ocean. But the waters are really all interconnected, making up one big ocean. Ice. Most of Earth's fresh water is locked in thick sheets of ice that cover Antarctica, near the South Pole, and Greenland, near the North Pole. Huge icebergs, which are floating chunks of ice made of fresh water, often break off the ice sheets. The icebergs slowly melt as they float toward warmer waters. So, is there anything happening that's making that process occur at a quicker pace? Think global warming, climate change. We'll talk about that in our Zoom conversation. So rivers and lakes. I wonder if global warming and climate change have anything to do with a change in the water cycle that scientists have noted. Relatively little of Earth's fresh water is found in rivers and lakes, but rivers and lakes are important sources of fresh water for the people who live near them. North America's 5 Great Lakes contain nearly 20% of all the water in the world's freshwater lakes. So groundwater is water that fills the cracks and spaces in underground soil and rock layers. When it rains or snows, some water soaks into the ground. This water trickles down through spaces between particles of soil and rock. Eventually, the water reaches a layer of rock that it cannot move through. Far more fresh water is located underground than in all of Earth's river and lakes. So I want you to think about the 3 steps that make up the water cycle. So they were what? Evaporation, condensation, and precipitation. Okay? How does water enter Earth's atmosphere? It's falling from the sky. So now I want you to complete this. I will read the questions real quick. Number 1, the process by which water moves from Earth's surface to the atmosphere and back again is the blank. 2, water that falls to Earth as rain, snow, hail, or sleet is called blank. Number 3, circle the letter of each sentence that is true about the water cycle. A, the water cycle begins with the formation of clouds. B, when water condenses in the air, it forms clouds. C, the sun is the energy source for the water cycle. Number 4, circle the letter of each sentence that is true about the distribution of Earth's water. A, about 1/4 of Earth's fresh water is groundwater. B, rivers and lakes contain salt water. C, the oceans cover a larger area than all the land on Earth combined. Number 5, the circle graph below shows the distribution of Earth's water. Circle the letter of the part of Earth's water that is only 3% of all of Earth's water. A, salt water. B, fresh water. C, groundwater. Number 6, the water that fills the cracks and spaces in underground soil and rock is called what? So I want you to just type the answer and send it to me. in an email. Okay? There are going to be, I know there's one more video for you to watch. I'm going to post the YouTube link to it in addition to this one, so you can watch. I know you really like those. If I find a second one, I will post that as well. Have a good one, guys.